The sun rose gently over the hills of New Terra, bathing the colony in soft golden light. Proxima Centauri had been humanity's first successful extrasolar settlement, thriving for nearly 40 years. The morning air carried the scent of the native purple flora that had been carefully integrated with Earth crops. Director Han stood at the podium in the central courtyard of New Horizon Academy, watching as hundreds of children assembled in neat rows. His silver hair caught the light as he smiled at the familiar routine. The academy housed nearly 1,000 students, the pride of the colony. "Good morning, students," he began, his voice carrying across the assembly ground. "Today marks the beginning of our Harvest Festival preparations. Each class will." He stopped mid-sentence as Security Chief Park rushed toward the stage, her usually composed face tight with concern. She whispered urgently in his ear, "Sir, unidentified vessels have entered orbit. They're not responding to standard greetings." Director Han nodded calmly. "Teachers, please continue with morning activities. I have a matter to attend to." Years of leadership had taught him to keep worry from his voice. In the colony's communication center, operators worked frantically at their stations. The main screen showed 5 massive ships, their hulls dark and angular like volcanic glass. "They're hailing us now, sir," said the communications officer. The screen flickered, and the image of the alien appeared. The beam stood nearly 3 meters tall, with iridescent scales covering its body, and 6 eyes arranged in a circular pattern. When it spoke, its mandibles clicked. "I am Ambassador Vex of the Krell Empire. Your presence is an inconvenience. This system now belongs to the Krell Empire. You will surrender your resources." Director Han stepped forward. Though his heart raced, his voice remained steady. "I am Director Han of New Terra Colony. We welcome peaceful relations, but this is our home. We've been here for 40 years and have established legal claim under Earth expansion protocols." The Krell ambassador's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Legal claims are irrelevant. You have 24 hours to begin evacuation procedures." Without further discussion, the transmission ended. Governor Kim joined Director Han as emergency meetings convened. "Could they be bluffing?" she asked. "I don't think so," Han replied. "Their ships are heavily armed. We should begin emergency protocols." "The orbital defense system isn't fully operational," Chief Park reported. "Earth promised the final components next month." The colony leaders debated options late into the evening. Some argued for immediate evacuation, others for attempting further negotiation. As night fell, they decided to request more time while secretly preparing defenses. Director Han couldn't sleep. He stood at his window, watching the distant lights of the colony when the first explosion lit up the northern perimeter. The communication center called immediately. "Sir, they're attacking the power stations." Across the colony, warning sirens blared. The Krell had not waited 24 hours. Their strategy became clear. They were systematically disabling infrastructure while avoiding direct strikes on population centers. At New Horizon Academy, Teacher Sue was awakened by the alarms. The faculty had drilled for emergencies, but never expected to face an alien attack. She rushed through the dormitory halls, waking the children. "Everyone stay calm," she called out as sleepy students emerged from their rooms. "Follow the emergency procedures, down to the bunkers, quickly." 10-year-old Min clutched his younger sister's hand as they joined the stream of children moving toward the underground shelters. "Are we going to die?" his sister whispered. "No," Min said firmly, though fear knotted his stomach. "The bunkers are safe. Teacher Sue said so." Teacher Sue counted heads as the children filed into the reinforced underground chambers. The academy had been built with safety in mind, with bunkers designed to withstand natural disasters. No one had considered they might need protection from alien bombardment. In the colony control center, Director Han and Governor Kim watched in horror as the Krell ships changed position. "They're moving over the eastern quadrant," said Chief Park. "That's where." "The academy," Han whispered. The sensor officer's voice shook. "Sir, they're targeting the academy." Incoming projectiles. Governor Kim grabbed the communication system. Attention all personnel at New Horizon Academy. Take shelter immediately. This is not a drill. Teacher Sue had just sealed the final bunker door when the first impact hit. The ground shook violently, dust falling from the ceiling. The lights flickered and went out, emergency lamps activating moments later. Children screamed and cried in the darkness. Everyone stay down. Teacher Sue called out, her voice steady despite her terror. Stay away from the walls. Above ground, the beautiful academy campus transformed into chaos. The administrative building collapsed entirely. The eastern dormitory suffered a direct hit. The western science labs crumbled like sandcastles. Only the central structures remained partially intact, their foundations reinforced for the colony's occasional earthquakes. The bombardment lasted precisely 17 minutes. When it stopped, an eerie silence fell over the colony. In the bunkers, Teacher Sue waited until the emergency system indicated the air was clear before unsealing the doors. Stay here, she told the oldest students. I'll check if it's safe. What she found above devastated her. Parts of the academy were unrecognizable. As she stepped carefully through the rubble, she heard moans and cries. Not all the children had reached the bunkers in time. Medical teams arrived within minutes, having anticipated casualties. They found hundreds of injured children, but, strangely, few fatalities. The precision of the Krell attack became apparent. They had deliberately avoided killing, instead causing maximum damage and injury. They want us afraid, Director Han said as he surveyed the destruction. They'd want us to run. In the medical center, beds overflowed with injured children. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly, treating broken bones, lacerations, and concussions. The colony's medical supplies, meant to last 6 months, would be exhausted within days at this rate. Governor Kim locked herself in her office and activated the quantum communication array, Earth's most advanced technology, capable of instantaneous communication across light years. The message she sent was brief but urgent. Proxima Centauri colony under attack by hostile alien force called the Krell. They targeted our children first. Hundreds injured. Limited defenses. Send help immediately. As night fell again, the colony held its breath, waiting for either another attack or word from Earth. Director Han visited the medical center, moving from bed to bed, offering comfort to the injured children. When he finally stepped outside, he looked up at the Krell ships still visible in orbit. They made a mistake, he said quietly to Chief Park. They thought hurting our children would break us. They don't understand humans at all. The emergency signal from Proxima Centauri reached Earth's Central Command within minutes. Admiral Lee was in the middle of her morning tea when her communication device buzzed with the highest priority alert. She set down her cup, the liquid still steaming, and hurried to the command center. Play the message, she ordered as soon as she entered the room. The staff stood at attention as Governor Kim's face appeared on the main screen. The woman looked exhausted, her eyes hollow with fear. Proxima Centauri colony under attack by hostile alien force called the Krell. They targeted our children first. Hundreds injured. Limited defenses. Send help immediately. Admiral Lee's face remained calm, but her hands tightened into fists. For decades, Earth had maintained a careful image to the rest of the galaxy. A peaceful, somewhat technologically limited species focused on cultural exchange and trade. Few knew about the massive military fleet hidden in the shadows of Jupiter's moons, or the advanced weapon systems disguised as scientific outposts. How long to prepare the 7th Fleet for deployment? She asked her second-in-command. 4 hours, Admiral. 6 if we include the stealth vessels. Make it 3, she said, and include the stealth vessels. We'll need everything. Around her, the command center erupted into activity. Officers rushed to stations, communications officers sent coded messages to the hidden fleet, and tactical specialists began plotting the fastest route to Proxima Centauri. Admiral, said her aide, Should we notify the Galactic Council? Not yet, Lee replied. The less the galaxy knows about our true capabilities, the better our chances of surprising the Krell. The 7th Fleet was Earth's most advanced battle group, 30 ships of varying sizes, each equipped with technology that Earth had carefully kept hidden from galactic records. As the fleet prepared for departure, Admiral Lee selected her response team. "I want Dr. Moon on this mission," she instructed. "Her understanding of alien psychology will be crucial." Dr. Moon was reading research papers in her office when the call came. Within an hour, she was aboard the flagship, her equipment and assistants with her. The journey to Proxima Centauri would take only 6 hours using Earth's classified slip drive technology. During the journey, Admiral Lee briefed her officers. "Our first priority is evacuating the injured and securing the colony. But make no mistake, this is an act of war. The Krell have made a terrible error in judgment." Dr. Moon spoke up. "The Krell are known for their tactical precision. If they targeted the Academy specifically, there's a reason." When the 7th Fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri, they emerged from slit space far enough away to avoid immediate detection. The stealth vessels moved ahead, gathering intelligence on Krell positions. 8 Krell warships in orbit, Admiral, reported the sensor officer. "Their technology appears advanced, but not beyond our capabilities. Deploy medical teams immediately," ordered Admiral Lee, "and position our defensive shield around the colony." On the planet's surface, the colonists looked up in amazement as Earth ships descended through the atmosphere. No one had expected help to arrive so quickly. Director Hand stood at the landing site as Admiral Lee disembarked. "You came," he said simply. "Of course we came," she replied. "Earth protects its own." Medical teams rushed to the makeshift hospitals while engineering crews began repairing critical infrastructure. Dr. Moon headed straight to the damaged academy, where many injured children were still being treated. She moved from bed to bed, scanning each child with specialized equipment. After several hours, she called for an emergency meeting with Admiral Lee and the colony leadership. "This was not a random attack," Dr. Moon explained, her voice steady but her eyes troubled. "The Krell didn't target the Academy because it was an easy target. They targeted it because of the children inside." She displayed a series of brain scans on the screen. Nearly 30% of the injured children show unusual patterns in their frontal lobes and limbic systems. These patterns match theoretical models for psionic abilities. The room fell silent. "Are you saying the children are psychic?" asked Director Han. "Not exactly," Dr. Moon clarified, "but they show potential for abilities beyond normal human capacity. The trauma of the attack may have accelerated this development in some cases." Admiral Lee's expression hardened. "The Krell wanted to eliminate a future threat, or capture it," Dr. Moon added. "Some of their targeting suggests they may have wanted to take survivors." Admiral Lee stood and walked to the communication station. Her decision was made. "Open a channel on all frequencies. Make sure the Krell can hear this." When the connection was established, she spoke clearly and firmly. "Attention Krell forces. This is Admiral Lee of Earth Defense Command. You have attacked a peaceful human colony and intentionally harmed children. This is your only warning. You have 48 hours to evacuate all human territories. This is not a negotiation." She ended the transmission and turned to her officers. "Prepare for their response. They won't go quietly." Aboard the Krell flagship, Commander Grell watched the human transmission with amusement. Tall and imposing, with the iridescent scales that marked his high rank, he turned to his subordinates. "These humans are primitive. They cannot comprehend our power. Their ships are small and few." His intelligence officer, a younger Krell named Vex, looked uncertain. "Sir, our scans show unusual energy signatures from their vessels. We can't identify some of their technology." "Irrelevant," Commander Grell dismissed with a wave of his clawed hand. "Prepare for full invasion. We will take this colony, and then the next. The humans will learn their place in our empire." But as he watched the Earth ships deploy around the colony, a small doubt formed in his mind. The humans had arrived much faster than should have been possible given their known technology, and their ships moved with unexpected precision. On Earth's flagship, Admiral Lee studied the Krell battle formations. "They're preparing for a ground assault," she noted. "They still think we're easy prey." Dr. Moon joined her on the bridge. "I've completed more detailed scans of the children. The psionic potential is growing stronger in some of them. One girl in particular, she says she can feel the Krell thinking." Admiral Lee nodded. "Have her brought to the secure medical bay on this ship. I want to know everything she can tell us about our enemy." As Earth forces established defensive positions around the colony, the injured children were carefully moved to the safety of the fleet's medical ships. Only those with the unusual brain patterns remained, protected by special security details. In her quarters, Admiral Lee reviewed Earth's military protocols. There had always been contingency plans for first contact going wrong, but no one had expected an enemy would specifically target children. The Krell had crossed a line that humanity would not forgive. "They think we're weak," she said to her senior staff. "They think our peaceful appearance means we cannot fight. They will learn how wrong they are." The 48-hour deadline began to count down. On both sides, forces prepared for what would come next. The first major interstellar conflict involving humanity was about to begin, and Admiral Lee was determined that the Krell would remember it forever. The 48-hour deadline reached its final hours with no sign of Krell withdrawal. Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the enemy vessels reposition for attack. She had hoped they might see reason, but the Krell's silence told her everything she needed to know. "It's time," she said to her command staff. "Activate Protocol Shield." Her second-in-command entered a series of codes into the main console. Throughout the fleet, officers received new orders, and systems previously kept dormant hummed to life. Protocol Shield was Earth's most classified defense strategy, developed over decades for exactly this scenario: defending a colony against a technologically advanced hostile force. No one outside the highest levels of Earth Command knew it existed. "Captain Kang, begin evacuation procedures," ordered Admiral Lee. "Priority on wounded children and essential personnel." Captain Kang's transport ships had seemed ordinary when they arrived, but now they shimmered and partially vanished from view as their cloaking systems activated. The Krell sensors would struggle to track them as they moved between the colony and the fleet. "First wave of evacuees boarding now, Admiral," reported Captain Kang. His voice was calm despite the risk of his mission. "Estimated completion of priority evacuation in 4 hours." Meanwhile, Commander Choi led a smaller group of ships away from the main fleet. Her vessels were sleek and dark, designed for stealth and speed. "Strike team moving into position," she reported. "Target coordinates locked." The Krell had established supply depots in the outer reaches of the Proxima Centauri system. Commander Choi's mission was simple: disrupt those supply lines without engaging their main fleet. Her ships slipped through space undetected, using the system's asteroid belt for cover. When they reached the first supply depot, they struck with precision. Quick, targeted hits that disabled communication arrays and propulsion systems without causing catastrophic damage. "First target neutralized," Commander Choi reported. "Moving to second location." Back at the colony, Dr. Moon worked tirelessly with the children showing unusual brain patterns. Most were still recovering from physical injuries, but their mental activity had increased dramatically. In the secure medical bay, 9-year-old Jin lay motionless, monitors tracking her vital signs. She had suffered a severe head injury during the attack and had been in a coma for days. Dr. Moon checked her readings one more time before preparing to leave. Suddenly, Jin's eyes snapped open. She sat up quickly, looking around with confusion. "Easy," Dr. Moon said gently, rushing to her side. "You're safe now." Jin's eyes focused on Dr. Moon, then seemed to look through her. "They're coming from the South Pole," she said, her voice hoarse from disuse. "3 ships. They think we can't see them." Dr. Moon felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean, Jin? I can see what they're planning, Jin said, touching her temple. The Krell. They're in my head somehow. They're afraid of what we might become. Dr. Moon immediately contacted Admiral Lee, who ordered a scan of the planet's south polar region. Minutes later, the sensor officer confirmed 3 Krell vessels approaching from beneath the southern magnetic pole, Admiral. They were using the magnetic interference for cover. Admiral Lee smiled grimly. Direct interceptors to cut them off, and bring Dr. Moon and the child to the bridge. When Jin arrived on the bridge, she looked around in wonder at the technology surrounding her. Admiral Lee knelt down to speak with her at eye level. Jin, Dr. Moon tells me you can sense the Krell's plans. Can you tell me more? Jin nodded seriously. They think in pictures. I can see them. They want to capture us. The children who survived. They think we have something special. Admiral Lee exchanged glances with Dr. Moon. Can you tell what they're planning next? Jin closed her eyes for a moment. The big ship is coming. Bigger than these. She opened her eyes. They're sending more forces. Lieutenant Baz's voice interrupted from the communication station. Admiral, we're detecting a surge in Krell communications. Their patterns are shifting. They're adapting to our tactics faster than expected, he added, concern evident in his voice. Admiral Lee straightened, her decision made. That's because we're not just using strategy. Deploy the HFY systems. Throughout the fleet, a specialized AI system came online. Athena was Earth's most advanced military artificial intelligence, designed to analyze enemy tactics and predict their movements with uncanny accuracy. The main view screen changed, displaying a complex web of projections and probabilities. Athena's pleasant female voice spoke. Krell tactical analysis complete. Projecting optimal counter-strategies. As HFY's predictions flowed through the fleet's systems, Earth ships began moving in new patterns, anticipating Krell maneuvers before they happened. When the Krell launched their first major offensive, Earth forces were already positioned to counter it. On the colony surface, more children began displaying abilities similar to Jin's. A 10-year-old boy named Ta could sense Krell communications. 12-year-old Yan found she could disrupt electronic systems with her thoughts. Each child who recovered showed some new, unexpected capability. Dr. Moon established a secure facility where these children could be both protected and studied. The attack triggered something in their developing brains, she explained to Admiral Lee. The Krell may have inadvertently accelerated human evolution. Commander Choi's strike teams continued their systematic disruption of Krell operations. With HFY's guidance, they stayed one step ahead of Krell security forces. Captain Kane's evacuation ships moved like ghosts through the blockade, rescuing hundreds of colonists each hour. The Krell commander grew increasingly frustrated as his forces failed to achieve their objectives. How are they anticipating our every move? He demanded of his officers. Reports of the failures reached the Krell Emperor himself, a massive being who rarely left the Imperial throne world. His counselors urged caution. These humans display technology we did not believe they possessed, said the science minister. Perhaps we should reconsider. The Emperor's multiple eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of dismissal. These are merely setbacks. Proceed with the invasion. Send the Imperial dreadnought if necessary. I will not be defied by primitives. Back on the flagship, Jin sat quietly beside Admiral Lee, occasionally whispering warnings that allowed Earth forces to avoid Krell traps. The Admiral had come to trust the child's insights completely. They're bringing their biggest ship, Jin said suddenly. The Emperor has ordered it. Admiral Lee nodded. Then we'll be ready for it too. As the first day of conflict ended, the balance had shifted. What the Krell had expected to be a simple conquest had become a complex and frustrating engagement. Earth forces, once thought primitive, moved with unexpected sophistication. And deep in the medical bay of the flagship, children with newly awakened abilities prepared to face an enemy that had gravely underestimated humanity. Admiral Lee looked out at the stars. thinking of the long fight ahead. "The Krell wanted to crush our spirit by attacking our children," she said quietly. "Instead, they awakened our greatest strength." The Imperial dreadnought entered the Proxima Centauri system with overwhelming confidence. Nearly 2 kilometers long, its hull bristling with weapons, it had never known defeat. Behind it followed 30 support vessels, each a formidable warship in its own right. The Krell Emperor had committed a significant portion of his military might to crush the human resistance once and for all. Aboard Earth's flagship, Admiral Lee studied the tactical display with calm focus. The arrival of the dreadnought marked a turning point. Until now, they had been reactive, defending the colony and disrupting Krell operations. The time had come to show the Krell, and the watching galaxy, what humanity was truly capable of. "All ships, this is Admiral Lee. We are initiating Operation Lightning." Her voice was steady as she gave the command that would launch Earth's first major offensive action. "Remember your orders. Precision strikes only. No civilian targets. We are not like them." The HFY system had spent days analyzing Krell defense patterns, identifying weaknesses in their formations and blind spots in their sensor coverage. Now it guided Earth ships through those gaps, allowing them to strike where the Krell least expected. Commander Choi's stealth vessels moved first, deploying specialized disruptor fields that temporarily disabled the Krell's communication systems. In those crucial minutes of confusion, Captain Kang's ships, no longer needed for evacuation, executed perfectly synchronized strikes against the dreadnought's weapon emplacements. The Krell commander aboard the dreadnought watched in disbelief as system after system reported failure. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" he demanded. "Where are they coming from?" His tactical officer had no answers. The human ships seemed to appear and disappear at will, striking with impossible precision before vanishing again. In the medical bay of Earth's flagship, Jin and 5 other children with awakened abilities sat in a circle. Their eyes were closed, their hands linked. Dr. Moon monitored their vital signs carefully. "They're changing tactics," Jin said, her voice distant. "The big ship is trying to retreat." Beside her, Ta nodded. "They're calling for reinforcements from the next system." Min, the youngest of the group, opened his eyes wide. "I can see their shield frequencies. They pulse in patterns." Dr. Moon quickly relayed this information to Admiral Lee. Engineers immediately adjusted Earth weapons to match the frequencies Min had identified. When they fired again, the Krell shields offered minimal resistance. The counteroffensive expanded beyond Proxima Centauri. Using intelligence gathered by HFY and the sensitive children, Admiral Lee dispatched strike teams to Krell military installations throughout the sector. Each target was hit with surgical precision. True to her orders, civilian areas remained untouched. "Sir, the humans are attacking our bases on Rigel IV and Denebaya," reported a Krell officer to the Emperor. Somehow they discovered locations that were classified. The Krell Emperor's outer skin darkened with rage. "Destroy them. Use the planet killer if necessary." "We can't, Your Majesty," the officer replied hesitantly. "Our weapon depots at Ta City have been neutralized, and 3 vassal species have revolted, attacking our ships from behind." This news stunned the Emperor. The Maran, Volden, and Taxili had been subjugated by the Krell for centuries, forced to pay tribute and provide resources. Now, seeing the Krell finally challenged, they had seized their opportunity for freedom. Ambassador Tulak of the Maran reached out to Admiral Lee directly. "We have watched your battle with great interest, human. Your species fights with honor, targeting only military assets while sparing civilians. We wish to join your cause." The Volden and Taxili sent similar messages. All 3 species had suffered under Krell oppression. All 3 possessed intimate knowledge of Krell installations and weaknesses. With these new allies providing intelligence and support, Earth's offensive accelerated. The Krell found themselves fighting on multiple fronts against enemies who somehow anticipated their every move. In Dr. Moon's medical bay, the abilities of the special children continued to develop. Jin could now not only sense Krell thoughts, but could project her own mental voice into their communication channels, causing confusion and false orders. Ta discovered he could temporarily disrupt their targeting systems with concentrated mental effort. Each child contributed uniquely to the defense of their people. They're not just weapons, Dr. Moon reminded Admiral Lee during a brief moment of respite. They're children who've been traumatized. We must remember that. Admiral Lee nodded. I know. This ends soon, and then they get childhoods again. I promise you that. The Krell Emperor received the visual records of his decimated fleets with mounting horror. His military advisors, once arrogant and assured, now showed fear. We severely misjudged human capabilities, admitted his senior general. They possess technology we've never encountered. And these children they've deployed, they show abilities similar to the ancient myths of our own species. Impossible, roared the Emperor. Humans are primitive. How could they hide such power? Perhaps that was their strategy all along, suggested another advisor. To appear harmless until threatened. The Imperial Dreadnought, pride of the Krell fleet, limped back to Imperial space with critical systems failing and half its weapons disabled. 2/3 of the Krell military installations in the sector had been neutralized. The vassal species rebellion spread to 2 more systems. Admiral Lee gathered her command staff. It's time to deliver our final message. She recorded a transmission and had it broadcast on all Krell frequencies. Jin and the other children ensured it penetrated even the Emperor's private channels. The Emperor watched as Admiral Lee's face appeared on his screen. Even his guard couldn't explain how humans had accessed this secure system. This is Admiral Lee of Earth Command. You attacked us without provocation. You targeted our children, thinking them weak. Now you have seen a fraction of humanity's true capabilities. We defended our children. Now defend yours. Leave human space forever, or witness what happens when humanity fights at full capacity. The screen displayed images of Earth ships poised near several uninhabited Krell worlds, then cut to footage of the children who had been injured in the initial attack, now recovered and standing together. Jin stepped forward and spoke directly to the Emperor in his own language, a feat that should have been impossible. We forgive you, but we will not forget. Choose peace. The transmission ended, leaving the Emperor staring at a blank screen. For the first time in his long rule, he felt genuine fear. His senior admiral broke the silence. Your Majesty, I recommend we withdraw from human territory immediately. We cannot win this conflict without unacceptable losses. The Emperor's scales flashed with anger, then faded to a dull acceptance. Send the withdrawal order, and prepare a delegation for negotiations. On Earth's flagship, Admiral Lee received confirmation of Krell ships retreating from human space. She allowed herself a small smile. Did we win? Asked Jin, who had come to the bridge to witness the outcome. Admiral Lee knelt beside the child. We didn't just win a battle, Jin. I think we might have won something more important, respect. The Krell retreat marked not just a military victory, but the emergence of humanity as a force to be reckoned with in galactic affairs. The alliance with the formerly subjugated species created new opportunities for cooperation and trade. And the children of Proxima Centauri, once targets, had become symbols of humanity's unexpected strength and compassion. The neutral space station orbiting Ta Ceti gleamed like a silver coin against the blackness of space. Ships from a dozen species had gathered for what many were calling the most significant peace conference in 5 centuries. At the center of it all was a conflict that had lasted mere weeks, but changed the galactic balance of power forever. Inside the Grand Conference Chamber, tension filled the air. On one side sat the Earth delegation, led by Admiral Lee in her formal blue uniform. On the other side, the massive form of the Krell Emperor dominated the space, his scales shifting between deep purple and green as he struggled to maintain composure. Between them stood representatives from the Galactic Council, ancient species who had watched the conflict with growing concern. The Maran Volden and Taxili delegations sat nearby, former vassals of the Krell now asserting their independence. "This conference will now begin," announced the Arcturian mediator, her translucent body glowing softly. "We gather to establish peace between the Krell Empire and Earth, as well as to address the status of the liberated worlds." The Krell Emperor's 6 eyes focused on Admiral Lee. His voice rumbled through the translator. "Before these formal proceedings commence, I wish to ask the human commander a question." The mediator nodded her approval. "You could have destroyed us," the Emperor acknowledged, his mandibles clicking softly. "Your forces penetrated our defenses with ease. Why didn't you?" The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Admiral Lee. She met the Emperor's gaze steadily. "Because that's not who we are," she replied simply. "We fight to protect, not conquer. Humanity does not seek the destruction of others, only the safety of our own." The Emperor's scales rippled as he absorbed her words. Several of the Galactic Council members exchanged meaningful glances. The negotiations proceeded for hours. Earth's terms were clear and firm. Recognition of all human colonies as sovereign territory, substantial reparations for the damage to Proxima Centauri, and participation in a technological exchange program supervised by the Galactic Council. "These terms are harsh," protested the Krell Trade Minister. "They are fair," countered Earth's representative. "You attacked without provocation and deliberately targeted children. The consequences could have been far worse." As the discussions grew heated, the main doors opened. Dr. Moon entered, accompanied by Jin and 5 other children from Proxima Centauri. The room fell silent at their appearance. Jin walked forward, her steps steady despite the weight of so many alien gazes upon her. At 12 years old, she looked small beside the towering aliens, but her presence commanded attention. "I asked to speak," she said, her voice clear in the hushed chamber, "because I was there when the Krell ships came. I was beneath the rubble for 2 days before they found me." Several of the council members shifted uncomfortably. The Krell Emperor's outer skin darkened with what might have been shame. "We know why you attacked us," Jin continued. "We know you feared what we might become." She gestured to the children beside her. "We can sense your thoughts, your fears, but we don't want your fear. We want your friendship." One of the younger Krell in the Emperor's delegation leaned forward. "You speak our language of thoughts. How is this possible?" Jin smiled. "We don't know exactly, but Dr. Moon thinks that when you attacked us, the trauma somehow awakened abilities that were always inside us. Human children have always been special. You just helped us discover how special." The Krell Emperor's scales shifted to a deep blue, a color Admiral Lee had never seen before. The translator remained silent for several moments before interpreting. "In our ancient texts, there are stories of a time when Krell young could speak mind to mind. We believe these were only legends." "Perhaps," said Dr. Moon, speaking for the first time, "there is more that connects our species than divides us." The atmosphere in the room changed subtly. What had begun as tense negotiations became something more. A genuine exchange between civilizations. The Arcturian mediator seized the moment. "Let us formalize these agreements in the spirit of new understanding." Over the next hours, accords were drafted and reviewed. The Krell Empire recognized human space and agreed to substantial reparations. The formerly subjugated species received their independence with guarantees of protection. And most significantly, a new Galactic Council was formed with humanity given a seat, an unprecedented honor for such a young species. Representatives from a dozen worlds watched as humans and Krell, who had been bitter enemies only days before, found common ground. They'd witnessed a new power emerging, humans with both impressive technological might and extraordinary restraint. When Admiral Lee signed the final document, applause rippled through the chamber. The Krell Emperor pressed his claw into the special ink that constituted his signature. Peace had been achieved. As the formal proceedings ended, the children who had been targeted in the attack became the center of attention. Delegates from across the galaxy approached them with curiosity and respect. Jin found herself answering questions about human culture and explaining what it meant to be a child on Earth. The Krell Emperor prepared to depart, his massive form moving toward his ship. Admiral Lee caught him in a quiet moment away from the crowds. "Your restraint has taught us something important," the Emperor said, his translator conveying the complex emotions behind his words. "We attack your children thinking them weak. In doing so, we awaken something far more powerful than weapons. Your determination." Admiral Lee nodded. "Remember that lesson well, Emperor. The galaxy will be watching." Later, as the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Jin stood on the observation deck of their ship. The space station grew smaller in the distance, stars stretching around them as they prepared to enter slit space. Admiral Lee found her there, looking out at the vastness of space. "Do you think they understand us now?" Jin asked, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. Admiral Lee considered the question carefully. The past weeks had transformed not just Jin, but humanity's place in the galaxy. What had begun with an attack on a school had ended with a new chapter of galactic history. "They're beginning to," the Admiral replied with a small smile. "And that's how peace starts." Jin nodded, satisfied with the answer. In her mind, she could still feel the faint echoes of Krell thoughts, but they no longer carried fear or aggression. Instead, she sensed curiosity and perhaps a touch of respect. The ship entered slit space, beginning its journey back to Earth. There would be challenges ahead, helping the children adapt to their new abilities, rebuilding the colony, establishing relationships with new alien allies. But for the first time since the attack, Jin felt certain about the future. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity would defend its own with ferocity when necessary, but always preferred the path of peace. And the children of Proxima Centauri, once targets, would help guide the way forward. The end.